If you're happy where you are, don't ruin it. Hi guys, so we are back for part 3 of should we move to Italy? But before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to say something because I feel like our first 2 videos, maybe it's just me, you guys can let me know if you got this perception, but I felt like they were very negative towards Italy, and I do not want the perception to be that we don't like Italy. We love
Italy, yeah.
Italy, and there's 2 sides here. So first and foremost, we love Italy so much. That is why the cons are so upsetting for us and so frustrating. And we feel like if Italy just got its shit together with some of those things, it would be the best place to live by far. And then the other side of the discussion is just the nature of our pros and cons that we've shared. The pros are so simple and don't require much explanation, and they are so important. Family, culture, what more do we need to say, right? You guys get it. Whereas the cons are very nuanced. They're very specific to Italy. We have to give examples.
Subjective to us.
For sure,
right.
True. And they require more explanation and going more in depth. So I don't want how much we focus on the cons to give the perception that those are more important than the pros. It's constantly like this for us in our household because we want to move. I think that's honestly kind of the theme is I want to be convinced to move because I want to do it. And I'm gonna read you guys the feedback I got from this Facebook group that I joined. It was American moms living in Italy, where I posted our situation, we work for ourselves, we can live anywhere. I'm American, he's Italian. I do speak Italian, this is also important. What was that face
You do,
for?
it's true, yeah, she does.
Not fluently, I'm still
very
learning.
much close to it, so.
I laid out our entire situation and essentially said, what would you do? Having the experience of living both in Italy and in the US, what do you guys think? And I was shocked at the response because
we were expecting everyone to say, you need to move now, move. Let's move.
It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, but
it was the opposite reaction. They essentially said, do not ruin or mess what you have up by moving to Italy or to Rome specifically, because us living in Rome is it makes a difference in this discussion.
It does, it really does. Yeah, that's a specific thing that
Another thing I want to say, sorry, I know there's so many little things, is that some comments that we got on prior videos, it seems like you're looking in the center of Rome and, more expensive part of Rome. No, that's not the case. It's North Rome.
It's not part of Rome. It's a very residential area where I grew up, not the city center.
Yeah, it's not the city center, which is the most expensive part of Rome, but also we're not going to move to Rome and not move to where his family is. Rome is a major city. Think New York City type traffic, London type traffic. It's not easy to move around there. So we're not going to move there 45 minutes outside of Rome and have to commute and never see his family. We're going to move where his family is. To be honest, we probably would move in with his family.
Wow.
Or, we've talked about this. Or the ideal case scenario really for everyone would be to find 2 apartments in the same building.
Yeah.
That's ideal case scenario. And we have looked, we've tried.
We tried, not that
hard.
easy. Yeah.
It's not that easy. And this is not to say that we are going to let a Facebook group and comments,
obviously not.
Make the decision for us, but they're all little pieces to this puzzle.
They're kind of confirming some of our points. That's the problem. So we should.
So I'm going to read some comments. Some of them are very lengthy. I'll put them up on the screen just for ease of following along. Dun, 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 dun. This one says, I wouldn't move. Community and friend groups are so important because I shared, in this group, what I shared with you guys. We have a really big community and friend group. You have yours established and love it. Italy means starting from square zero with work and friends. Doesn't really apply to us. We have his friends and
also we work for ourselves, so it doesn't really apply.
But here's where it gets interesting. Speaking from my own experience growing up in Europe, kids can be cruel and anti-American even when you're fluent. Bullying isn't punished. I would continue just doing summers here. And this is going to be a common theme in several of these responses I got. It was about how not just bullying Americans, apparently that's a thing. I had no idea. And of course, this depends on where they're at and a lot of factors. There were several saying this, that their kids were getting punched, hit, jumped on the way to school just because they're American. And does bullying happen in the US? Yes. This person also said the medical system in Italy is cheaper, but incredibly paternalistic. Doctors act like asking questions is disrespectful. I had a pediatrician laugh in my face at the ER when I told her our primary care doctor recommended an IV. And this was another common theme, was women sharing their experiences in the medical system and just how they were not listened to, they were disregarded, they would not even be given pain medication when they needed it, even in like births or recovery. And again, does that happen in the US? It does. It's not necessarily that it only happens in one place and not the other. I think these things can happen anywhere, but they are things that I think in the media and in general, with Italy being so romanticized, it almost makes it seem like it's this utopia and it's this perfect place. And again, we love Italy, but it is just a reminder for us in a reality check that there would be similar life struggles, and you kind of have to pick which ones you want to deal with, right? And I will say these responses were not what I was expecting. Like I said, I want to be convinced to move. I want to hear all the reasons to move. And it is good for me to get this feedback about the reality of living there so that if we move, because we still might, it's still a discussion. If we move, it's best to have realistic expectations.
For sure.
So, okay, moving on to, another one. Agreed, my child is being bullied because he is different, meaning he is American. We came here for a peaceful life and to be away from pew-pews at schools. And the school turns a blind eye when my first grader got sucker punched in the stomach by a child twice his size. I love raising my boys in Italy, but it is tough. Okay, so there's obviously a difference there between being punched and, you know, what happens in the US. We were surprised to hear how much bullying happens there.
I remember the anti-American sentiment growing up. Obviously, I don't know what's going on now, but it seems like it's still there. I obviously don't agree with it. I think it's awful. And
I mean, bullying anyone based off of where they're from is
yeah,
insane.
Obviously. And it's, I'm actually kind of surprised this is still going on.
I think that we also have to be realistic with what we would do with our kids in schooling. Would we put them in the public schools? We would probably do an American style school, because if they are living in Italy and getting the Italian language immersion, I would want to be sure that they're at an English-speaking school for English grammar.
I agree, but all of a sudden you have, one of the pros where, okay, if we move there, things might cost less all of a sudden. Okay,
but then you add private school.
Yeah, private school, and other stuff, because okay, I want the education and the other aspect of my life to resemble what the life is in the United States. Very quickly, the life expenses kind of add up, and kind of the pros.
Right.
Diminish.
It cancels out the financial.
Potential financial gains.
Okay, next one says, I think the grass is always greener. I am a mother and I have lived in Italy for 30 years. I loved living here until I had children.
Oh wow, this is interesting.
Now I feel like all I do is battle with the school and struggle with the guilt of putting my children through an archaic school system, which...
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Have we ever touched on this?
I don't think we talk about the school system.
Oh, it's so archaic. Okay, people probably have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I have pretty strong feelings about this
very
because I went through it, and I experienced also a kind of a different side of also the kind of more American school system when I came to the United States and studied a little bit here. Then in China as well, it was more Americanized. In Italy, high school but also college, everything is about memory. Memorize as much things as possible. You don't need to learn the things because they give you an insane amount of material that you basically just need to memorize. In college, you get tested, and by the way, you have a written test and also a interview kind of style oral test, where you basically they can ask you a question on a 2,000-page book, like open the book and say, here's the question. So you basically memorize all the book, and after you're done, you forget about it, right? There is no real life application.
So can I just add that by contrast, where an American school, like almost grading system, is where they have quizzes, they have tests, they have projects, they have group projects, individual projects, papers, things like that. That doesn't exist. It is 100% of your grade is based on this written and oral exam.
And if you pass the written, actually, even with an A, let's say you go to the interview, the oral exam, they can still fail you for the entire class.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And the high school part, so the two major paths you can take in Italy are classical study or scientific studies.
Yeah.
I did the classical studies, and the classical studies, you basically are taught ancient Greek, Latin, very little mathematics, very little, basically no physics, very little. On the contrary, in the scientific studies, you have more mathematics. You still have Latin and other stuff, but the contrast of this compared to what, how do you say this?
A more balanced approach.
Yeah, and more.
maybe,
Yeah, it's just, again, it's the practical use of these things. So like, there is no really real life application. And I guess, the problem, the US is kind of not great at it as well, but it is still
At
better at the practical application. There's still like
I mean, but we
missing.
do projects, we do group work,
You
we
do
do
group work.
presentations. It's like little mini practices for working with people, and whereas you don't get that in Italy.
don't get that,
at
so,
all. It is very just individual 2,000-page book that you have to read everything and commit it to memory.
Right,
The
and
end.
then again, the classical studies, obviously, and again, what's the point of ancient Greek? And like, and if you want to be a Greek professor, which is great, obviously, but there is really not, okay, real life, how can this help me in my long time work career or just my career in general?
Can I say?
And one last thing. I then switched because I do like economics, and I wanted to do economics and finance in college. I had to get a tutor to basically did the entire mathematics and statistics program from scratch, because I knew nothing about
From
this.
high school?
From high school, nothing. So it was a struggle, obviously. I go through it, but the school system is very archaic. It does not prepare you for real life. That doesn't mean, one more thing, that doesn't mean that the US school system does, okay? But it is definitely like a little bit better than the very old archaic Italian system. I'm done, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, really what you just said is what I wanted to say, is I think that neither school system is perfect.
Right,
no.
no.
And this is like the theme, is it's almost like nowhere is perfect. There's problems everywhere. You have to pick and choose which ones matter to you. Whereas the US, not perfect, but also Italy, it's like maybe someone is really good on just self-study and memorizing and just reading books, but like I would fail everything with that type of system. So anyways, that was just what I want to say. The other thing I do want to say, wow, this is turning into a video about schooling in Italy versus US. The other thing that I really don't like, and I'm pretty sure some people said it in this group, is teachers there and professors have so much power in the way that the students have no voice. Parents have no voice. On the flip side, in the US, probably teachers, professors don't have enough of a voice, and parents have too much power, bullying teachers into changing grades. So again, not perfect in either place, but I will say that from what I've heard about people being in school in Italy, it's just whatever the teacher says, it goes. There's no discussion. They have the ultimate say, the ultimate power. That is also a problem. Something that was interesting reading these comments is that for a lot of people, their view on living in Italy changed once they had kids.
That's very interesting to me.
And that is why we pay so close attention to the topics that are more about kids, schooling, bullying, and etc. Okay, dun, dun, dun. A comment just saying, honestly, it sounds like you have a great situation there. I would stay. Italy can be a huge headache. I can't wait to move back to the States one day if it's livable. Another, we came here for this image of La Dolce Vita, but most people here are like, why? They would give anything to give their kids the opportunities that they can have in the US. Let the kids have magical summers in Italy. Another one, I'm from California originally, but I've lived in Italy for a long time. Both my kids were born in Rome. I enjoyed life before kids, but having kids has made me a lot more critical of life here. The school system is antiquated and difficult to find schools with more modern takes on schooling. For example, going outdoors, not yelling at kids, and having a more well-rounded approach to subjects. Another, I wouldn't move either. I'm American, my husband Italian. Once school started, all of our views changed. The schools are not like the US. That's one thing I miss the most. My kids did 1 year in the US and they thrived. Back in Italy, teachers are not very accommodating, supportive, or involved. And another just, they already see the Italian side of family 4 months per year. Life in Italy is hard, especially in a city like Rome. If you're happy where you are, don't ruin it. Like hearing those statements of like, don't ruin what you have, that really hit me. If money isn't an issue, you can send them to international schools, but that's also like, that sucks. So we could have a better life there if you have money.
Well,
which again, that can apply anywhere.
It can apply anywhere,
Sure.
but it is a
anywhere.
common thing in, what you say, make money in the US and then move to Europe.
Yeah.
If with that,
If you can make
trying
US money living in Europe.
Or if you make it in the US and you're then set, then yes, you can move to Italy. So no, it's not us. But also it's I think the most obvious thing to me is still remains, it's very hard to make it in Italy.
Yeah.
It's very hard so we are entrepreneurs. It will not be easy, and we are only considering this because we have our own business, right? US-based business.
For sure.
And I think I'm not sure if I need to start from scratch, I'm not sure Italy would be the place to do that.
One of the reasons why we're doing these videos is because this is a constant conversation in our household, and we are still working through it. And with all of this said, we still might move, but it's also because I get DMs constantly, especially when we're in Italy and especially when we just had gotten back from Italy. It's September, we just got back in August, okay? And I always get a barrage of DMs saying, I don't know why you guys don't move. I would have moved yesterday if I had the opportunity. What are you doing? It's crazy that you haven't moved yet. And this is why it's not so simple. It's not vacation Italy. A lot of people have a perception of Italy because they go there on vacation. Living there is a different story. And again, we love Italy. We love Italy. There's hard things about living there that living here are so much easier. Doesn't mean it's perfect. I think, as you can tell, what we can take away from this is nowhere is perfect and the grass is not always greener. And I think a lot of people have that perspective. They think that moving to Europe or moving to Italy will solve so many issues. Will it solve some? Yeah, but not all. There will be new issues to deal with.
Right.
So we love Italy so much. We still might move. I don't want people to think I hate Italy. I
can tell, yeah.
We're gonna stop there, but what I want from you guys is, this is now the third part of this series. We don't have a part 4 planned, but I wanna know in the comments from you, what, based on everything that we've talked about, would you like us to elaborate on? And we can see about doing a part 4 for you guys. It's up to you guys. Let us know in the comments what you want. Thanks for joining us, and really thanks for sharing all of your feedback in the comments. Some that get exactly what we're saying, that have the experience, some that don't and appreciate the perspective, and some that don't agree at all, and that is also okay. Yeah. Everyone has their own experience and have different things that are more and less important to them. All right, guys, see you next time. Bye.
By the way, we love Italy.
I don't think they know. I don't think we've said it enough. Together, 1, 2, 3.
We love Italy.
Okay.